Welcome everybody. Thank you all for coming. This is our first of hopefully many trainings that we're going to have for the community. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to build resilience within our community. And we feel like if we can help educate the public on some basic information, you guys can actually take that home and help train your neighbors and help train up your friends and build up a stronger community. So I want to thank you for coming. There's a couple of sign-in sheets up there. If you would like more information on this class or additional information on the Baofeng radios, please leave us your email address and we can send that out in the next couple of days. Also, there's a separate sign-in sheet next to it, and that one is for ideas for future trainings. So if there's other trainings that you guys have in mind that you'd like us to provide to you guys, please write that down so we get a good idea of what the public is wanting. So our first class tonight is on alternative communications and the operations of the Baofeng radio. I've asked Richard Gage here tonight to give the presentation. I'm going to give him a quick introduction and a plug. So Richard Gage is a local resident, an architect in Sagal. He hosts a prepper class at 6 p.m. on the first Sunday night of each month at his home in Sagal. I don't know where that is, so if you're interested, you have to talk to him after the training. He also hosts a regular weekly radio network on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. on the MERS 3 channel in the Round Lake area. So if you guys would like more information from him, you guys can meet up with him after the training. Real briefly, how it's going to go tonight is he's going to give his presentation and we're going to hold all of our questions until the end. This is also on Zoom and it will also be recorded on YouTube. So anytime you guys want to go back and refresh your minds on the presentation, or if someone wasn't able to come tonight, they'll be able to look up and see the same information you guys are getting tonight. Our intention here every month is to start building a resilience training library. You can find it by going to the Bonner County YouTube channel, and it will also be available on the Bonner County website. So with that, I'd like to introduce Richard Gage. Well, I'll turn it over to you, Richard.
Let's do this. Can you hear me? Yeah. How many of you have Baofeng radios with you? Wow. How many of you know how to use them? Fewer. We're going to try to bridge that gap tonight. And I'm excited to be here with you. We do have, if you're in the Sagal area, specifically near Round Lake, the opportunity for you to join our little local radio net so that you can get practice every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on MERS 3. How many of you know what I mean when I say MERS 3? Okay, that gives me a feel. How many of you don't? See, I'm talking to you guys tonight, the ones who just raised their hand, because that's how I learn. And it seems a little bit confusing at first if you're not familiar with some of this stuff. So I'm going to try to talk to you guys who aren't, because that's our target audience in Bonner County, to get everybody up to speed. So bear with us. If you already know this stuff, you probably shouldn't even be here. But we want you to know what we're teaching people so that you can help us to improve or correct us. And if there's anything I say that's not right tonight, please. I know there are geniuses in here. I've met a bunch of you, and we are looking forward to having your skills and knowledge to get us all up to speed and going. So why are we dealing with radios at all? How many of you have a cell phone? How many of you know that that cell phone someday is not going to work anymore? Why? What are some of the reasons that that's fire? Fire can burn down the cell towers real quick. Any others?
Power grid.
Power grid can go down for any number of reasons. Anything else?
Faulty update,
What?
faulty update.
Faulty updates on your telephone. The whole iOS version can go down. Somebody else said something?
EMP.
EMP burst. Take out the whole grid, the cellular network, your phones, your car, and everything else. So that's what, this is one of the things that Ron's talking about when he says resilience. We need a backup plan. And I am just tickled pink that there's so many of you here tonight to take Ron up on his offer to learn this material. So how many of you have a satellite phone? One? Okay, so that's not a great backup plan for the rest of us, is it? And can the satellite phone go down too? Yeah, EMP will take, in all likelihood, a high altitude burst could take out the satellites. There's a number of other options that are expensive and not readily learnable or achievable. So we're talking about these radios here, the UB5R today from Baofeng. It's a Chinese radio. It's cheap. And this one costs 25 bucks. And it is a great option. Get 2 or 3 of them if you can, because you want to be able to talk to somebody else, right? Give one to your neighbors, your friends. I bought one for every one of my neighbors. And now we have regular radio weekly, well, ours are monthly nets. We call them nets. And so get one and share this information, which will be a Zoom class. So that you can share it with others who weren't able to come, specifically all your neighbors. When you can't communicate with your neighbors, it's just, and there's an emergency, it's bad news. And there's very few people who are prepared to do that. And we have Amron, fortunately, the American radio, American Readout Radio Operators Network. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Amron.com, AMRRON, is an incredible source of information. There's videos there that tell you about the Channel 3 project, which is an awesome project. What do I mean when I say Channel 3? Here's what I mean. They're all of the various radio services, CB radio. How many of you have CB? A good percentage. FRS and GMRS radio, and MERS. These are frequencies. Some of them are specific radios designed to work with those frequencies. What we know, well, in terms of Amron, the Channel 3 project says, hey, go to Channel 3 on whatever radio you're on. Okay? If you're on a CB, go to Channel 3. If you're on an FRS radio, go to Channel 3. If you're on a MERS radio, there are MERS radios. Today, we're going to learn how to use our Baofeng as a MERS radio, which is legal. And the reason is because we can turn the wattage down on this radio and make it legal. FCC compliant. The radio specifically isn't designed for that, and you need to know that, but it is not really a problem on MERS. Do not use this radio on the FRS frequencies. I'll show you what those are. Do not use them on the ham bands unless you're licensed. And you can't use it on CB because these are completely different technologies. So what do we do in all of us as in taking guidance from Amron? If we're going to be involved in the Channel 3 project and we have an emergency, which is the whole point, we go to Channel 3. That's the first step. Somebody repeat that. What's the first step?
Channel 3.
All right, I'm going to show you how to do that today on your Baofeng. The second step, attempt to broadcast for about 2 minutes. What's the second step? Sorry, I don't mean to teach you like kindergartners, but I have forgotten this a lot of times. This and finally the 1, the 3, the 2, and the 1. If you don't reach anybody the first time, or if you do, broadcast again on the hour. That's 1 hour. So 3, 2, 1. What's 1? Broadcast on the hour, every hour, until you reach somebody. So now you have a key, a guide, which will help you to find others who are aware, at least, of the Amron program. Gosh, if I go on every hour and I broadcast for 2 minutes, and I don't want to broadcast for an hour, right? Because these batteries won't last that long. I can reach somebody on channel 3. That's the essential core and beauty of Amron. And it is much more sophisticated and extensive than that. Amron can converse on ham radio across the local area, across the state area, across the nation, and around the world. And they show you how to do that. So I highly encourage all of you to go to amron.com and learn how to do this. Incredible opportunity there in a more involved and extensive way. So what do? We press this big button on the left with our thumb, and we press it for 1 second, and then we speak. Do we speak right in here like this? No. We speak about across the radio because it just picks up better, the microphone. And then we wait 1 second, and then we let go. We're going to all do this together, those of you who have Baofengs at the end. And so what else do? We speak slowly. This is not the bedroom. We don't go, hey, no. We speak clearly, we enunciate, because it's hard enough when you hear somebody, a couple of miles away on this radio. It's hard enough. There's enough static where you really need to speak clearly, loudly, and enunciate. And using phonetics sometimes, you can't tell what some of these words are. So we have phonetics. This is developed by the military, and it works. It'd be helpful to memorize this. We'll do it right now. What's A? What's B? C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Now we'll go backwards. Go back. Romeo, Sierra, Tango, Uniform, Victor, Whiskey, X-ray, Yankee, Zulu. This is your second language, or third if you already have to. Okay, so learn it. It can be very, very helpful. Plus, when you go to amron.com, you can sign up to be a member. When you do that, they'll actually give you an ID. If you have an Amron ID, then others who hear that ID on the radio will know that you're probably a safe person to talk to, even though they don't know you. But Amron is cool, and Amron is very well known among the prepper community. And those are our people. If the grid goes down, the prepper community is your people. Trust me on that one. So my Amron ID is RG for Richard Gage. And the next one in line was 07. So my sign is RG07. That's my Amron ID. Yours can be anything. It can be your initials plus a number. If you sign up with Amron, they'll assign you a number based on your initials. Other people just have an ID like Flapjack or whatever. It's okay. So I'm Romeo Golf 07. So when you hear Romeo Golf, you don't think of Shakespeare or putting to the green in green. You think of RG. My gosh, do I know that guy? So that's one of the neat things about the Amron ID. So we keep it short and to the point. Why? Other people want to use the radio and you've got other things to do in an emergency. Only communicate what absolutely has to be necessarily communicated and do it without giving away your position to everybody out there who's listening to you, not just your friends. You know, we need to have a little bit of security in mind. So I'm not going to say, yeah, in an emergency, I got a flat tire and I'm at the corner of such and such, you know, particularly if you're a woman alone, you may not want to do that. There are procedures outlined on the Amron website to tell you how to communicate securely like that. But keep in mind, we're not giving away our real names, use code names. We're not giving away our position or the other person's position. You need to be a little bit cryptic to keep safe. Okay, so the Baofeng is cost effective, 25 bucks. By the way, the UV5R is a good radio and most people have them. You should be aware, however, that the Baofeng has come out with the 2nd generation radio. It has 1,000 channels instead of 127. It has a bright screen, which is in color, instead of black and white and small. It has more wattage capability, 10 watts, which you will only want to use if you're licensed and a ham radio operator. And it has USB-C charging, which is now the universal standard. You don't need a desktop charger. You plug it into your Android charger. So keep that in mind. It's like $5 more, and you get all that. So, and by the way, if I forget to tell you, there are people in this room who will help you by programming your radio with 127 channels, if you got the UV5R, at Winter Ridge at 7:45 tonight. We'll close in time to get you down there. And they're open till 9. So that's the food store, the natural food store just down Highway 2 at Boyer. So if you want your radios programmed or reprogrammed, there are people here who will help you do that tonight. And what will we put on there? Number 1 station, MERS 3. We're going to talk about MERS in a minute. In fact, let's talk about MERS right now. MERS is one of the several opportunities the FCC has afforded us to talk to each other. And the frequency range is around 150 megahertz. We have a broad spectrum on the radio, starting with well, below the radio spectrum, we have frequencies in which we can see. And then you get up to like the 2-meter range. Well, you get into the shortwave radio, which is actually long waves. But that's for long waves. I mean, really long. They bounce off the sky and come down in Japan or in Oregon. And then shorter waves in the 2-meter band, the waves are actually 2 meters long. And you divide, the frequency is, in this case, MERS, right up there in the 2-meter band, 151 megahertz or so. So your radios will have a whole bunch of useful frequencies when they are programmed, so that you can communicate on well, unlicensed on MERS. And so MERS allows us, we have 5 channels allowed by the FCC to talk on MERS. MERS 1, MERS 2, MERS 3, MERS 4, and MERS 5. You're limited to 2 watts. These radios can put out 5 watts. You can't use 5 watts on MERS. So the program that some of the people can help you with will be lowering that to 1 watt, which is the low version of wattage selectable on this radio. That's what makes them mostly all legal for you to use. The detachable antenna on the radio is not a problem for MURS. You've heard that maybe that you can't use a detachable antenna on FRS. That's true. That's the family radio service, also offered by the FCC. And that is in the VHF range, very high frequency, excuse me, ultra high frequency. 2 meters is VHF, very high frequency, and UHF is ultra high frequency. And in that band, we have FRS frequencies. And that can be very helpful too. If you have an FRS radio, that's FCC compliant, and you can get those at Walmart, and that's fine. Do not try to communicate on FRS with the Baofeng, and don't communicate with the ham radio repeaters on the Baofeng unless you're licensed, or with each other. Really, with this radio, unlicensed, you are limited to MURS. That's 5 channels. So why don't we? Well, we'll do that later. We'll have you program in your first frequency, and we'll talk to each other in a moment. And we're going to take questions at the end because we're on Zoom. And hi, everybody in Zoom land. We want people to hear you, and we'll have microphones later. So what do? How do you operate this monster? Okay, we're going to familiarize it. Pull out your radios if you've got them. We've got an antenna, which the first thing you want to do when you buy a Baofeng radio is throw away the antenna that it comes with. It'll look like this. Just throw it in the garbage and get yourself a real antenna. It'll cost you about $10, maybe 15, a Nagoya 771. And that will enable you to go a whole lot farther and more clearly. Okay, so when
I've got about 6 or 7 that I can loan out.
okay, thank you. We've got a flashlight on this radio. Okay, you operate that with one of these buttons, the orange one, I believe. We shouldn't mess with the radio, so I'm just going to tell you right now, you have a flashlight. You have a channel, a volume knob. So it's just like pretty clear, on, off, and volume. And you can turn your power to 5 watts or 1 watt. They're limited on our program and by MURS FCC regulations to 1 watt. Remember that. And you have other controls. You have 127 programmable channels. You have an LCD display. You have a band key. You can change the band from 2 meter to 70 centimeter band, which is VHF to UHF. There's 2 radios in here. Did you know that? You got 2 for 1. You 3. You got 3. You got a tri-band.
You have your main channel, your other channel, number 2 channel, and your FM.
FM.
Radio.
Did you know there's an FM radio in here also? Thank you. So there's 3 radios. So you can listen to 2 stations at a time, like say MURS 1 and MURS 2. You can also listen to your favorite local FM radio station. So that's important. You can put a better antenna than this on. You can put a 2 meter antenna on your roof, run a cable down to here, and then you're really in business. You can go 10, 20 miles. It's pretty cool what you can do. And you can reach a repeater and listen to the repeater, unlicensed. Listen to the ham radio operators. In an emergency, you want intel. And you're going to get more intel on the local repeaters than you will from your neighbor, who's probably not even on the radio. So The repeater system in this county is connected all down through the lower states, not lower states, the lower in the state. It's pretty cool. It's called the North Idaho Repeater Group. There are people in this room who will help you program all those repeaters onto your radio. Do not transmit on anything but MERS with this radio. Though you can get a lot of information, which is very, very important. That's what it's going to be all about when the grid goes down. It's your only source, in all likelihood, of information. You can program your menus. There's 40 different menu items, settings that you can make. That's pretty cool. There are people in this room who will help you program those 40 settings and tell you and give you a sheet of paper, not only what the frequencies are, but what the settings are and how to set them yourself and how to program the radio yourself later using what we call Chirp, which is a software program from an independent third party where you can change the frequencies that you will be provided if you show up at Winter Ridge after this session. And so we also have this cool thing on this radio called a VFO. That's our radio. That's the mode in which we access information. We can access channels. As I said, there's 127 channels. In MR, memory mode, you can call up any channel by clicking the orange button if you're not already in that mode and dialing 020 for channel 20. You need 3 digits because there are indeed 3 characters because there's 127 channels. That's 3 digits. So 020 for channel 20. That's cool. You've got VFO mode, which is the frequency mode, which is if I want to type in a frequency directly, like for instance, the MERS 3 frequency, which is 151.940. What do? I make sure I'm in frequency mode. You'll see a bunch of numbers instead of names there. And you just dial 151.940. They don't have decimal points. So you just type in 151.940. And now I'm on MERS 3. Now you know how to get to MERS 3 even without going to Winter Ridge and having those people program it for you. Right? So that's pretty helpful. You can do it now if your radio's on. 151.940 when you're in frequency mode. So you're learning a few things so far. That's pretty good, right? We're humming along here. Now, what if you have a programmed radio and you want to go to a specific channel? 127 channels. MERS 3 is on one of them. Yeah, I forget what it is, like 12 or something on the particular program that they're going to put on. So what do? I make sure I'm in channel mode, and I'll know that because there are names of these programmed frequencies in here. So there it'll say MERS 3, right? So if you want to go to something else, you can just dial that channel. I said 020 will get you there. So next, we talked about push to talk. You push the push to talk button for a second, then you talk, then you stop talking, wait a second, and then let go. I can't tell you how many times we're on the radio and you can only hear a part of what somebody said because they're pushing the button at the wrong times. So just remember that. 1 second, talk, 1 second, let go. You can lock your radio. That can be helpful. It can also be a hindrance. But there's one button on here that will allow you to lock it. It's the pound button. You can tell because the blue little key next to the pound button, it looks like a key.
It's a long press.
A long press, thank you. So hold that down and you can lock the buttons in case you're backpacking and you don't want to be pushing them accidentally. So a couple of the most useful functions here that you have to access through the menu system is the squelch level. What is squelch? If I want to listen to everything that's out there, even the faintest signals, I can override my squelch setting by pressing this little MON or monitor button under the push to talk button. Now that's listening to everything this radio can possibly pick up. How do you like it? No, not so good. Because it's noisy. So we don't want to listen to that all the time. So we turn our squelch up. Most of the radios are set to squelch 3 or 4 settings. This is 0. So don't use 0. Transmit power. It can be very helpful to know how to transmit high and low. If you short press on the pound key, you can turn it to low, and you'll know because there's a little L in the upper part of your display. That's low power. That's the only power you can use compliant with the FCC on this radio. So if you're not already seeing a little L there, then press that pound button, short pressed, and you'll have low power. But in the menu system, you can set the default for that. All right, let's keep going. There are some accessories that can be very helpful with your radio. The first accessory is a second radio. You can run out of batteries, it can break, you can drop it. All kinds of things can go wrong. We have, this is the standard radio. It's short, right? And this is the radio with the extended battery. It lasts more than twice as long. That's pretty cool. So why wouldn't you have that? It costs $10, right? But Amazon, all these are readily available on Amazon. You can just search for them. We also have antennas like this antenna. Is that any good? What might be a useful purpose of a tiny little antenna instead of a nice big one?
Localized communication.
Yes, maybe I don't want to broadcast 5 miles down the road. I don't know who's listening. Maybe I only want to talk to my wife out in the garden. This will limit the range of my communication.
You would be surprised the range that little antenna.
So there's somebody saying it goes farther than you might think it goes. Okay, so that's another reason to use low power, small antenna, and maybe whisper if you're really concerned about it. Get a tin can. That can be very helpful. So we have cables that can charge your Baofeng that go right into USB-A style in this case. That can be helpful. You can get these all online. Say you ran out of batteries and you want to plug it into your cigarette lighter in your car or not run out of batteries. You can do that with this handy adapter. That's helpful. Say you don't want to, you've got a whole bunch of AA batteries. You can get a case that's designed just to put those in. That can be very helpful. And the antennas we talked about. There is a survival antenna. I think it's like 50, 60 bucks. You can throw a rock up into a tree. So you have this hiking with you, particularly with a paracord tied onto it, with an antenna tied onto that. Excuse me, a cable, a long cable, and an antenna tied onto the back end of all of that. You throw it up over, if it doesn't hit you in the face, you pull the rock down, hoisting the antenna up, getting that 2-meter flexible antenna as high up into the tree as you can. All of a sudden, your range is line of sight. It will go as far as it can see. And you can see a whole lot more from up there. That's called the survival antenna. And there's different versions of it. It's on Amazon also. And this is the kind of cable that you use for such a purpose. You can also get and this one's called the Slim Jim. It's a little shorter, but it's the same concept. If you can get an antenna to put on your car. And with this cable, you can connect your car antenna down through the door. It puts a little kink in your cable, but it's okay. And you can talk from your car a lot farther, because that's a pretty powerful antenna there. And with the ground plane of your roof on your car acting to reflect that up, it can be very, very helpful in range. And there are different microphones available. You can get the ones in your ear. And for if you want to look like a Secret Service agent, or you can get these, you can, like a cop, you can keep it on your shoulder, and this is so-and-so, and your radio's somewhere else safe, right? Not in the way. So all that can be very helpful. Chirp is a great program that most all of us use to program our radios. Those folks down that are going to meet you down at Winter Ridge will be using Chirp to program your radios, and you can do this yourself. You Google Chirp Next, and it will come right up. You can download the software. You can type in your own frequencies. You can program them to your radio with the cable, the programming cable that plugs right into the external speaker. And microphone connection. That's right there on the right side. So with that in mind, let's pull out our radios and talk to each other. I'm going to walk you through this, so try to stay with me. The first thing I'm going to do is turn on the volume knob. Now I've got power.
Anybody want a radio?
And he's got 7 radios if you want to practice. I'm going to talk to the gentleman. Now, next thing we want to do, we want to notice what mode we're in. We're going to want to be in frequency mode. So we press the orange button until we see a lot of numbers, a lot of frequencies. Okay, so now I see long numbers. Really ugly. Don't press that button. So I forgot to tell you, there's a siren on the damn thing. So now what do? We're in frequency mode. Let's type in the frequency for MERS 3. And we're coming to that right now. There it is. It happens to be 151.940, but there's no decimal point. So we just type in 151.940. 151.940. Is there a little L in the upper? If there's not, we need to change the power and lower it. Because we also don't want to radiate everybody in here. But we want to be legal. So make sure there's a little L. What if there's not? Press the pound sign and you'll see the little L come up. That means low power. Now I'm ready to talk to you guys. This is Romeo Golf 07. I hear myself on some of your radios, and it's awesome to connect with you. The first thing I did was listen to see if the frequency was being occupied. I noticed that it was not, and so now it is okay for me to talk. Who would like to talk back to me? One at a time. Raise your hand. Go ahead, Sandy. Not hearing.
Okay, so I heard it this one, right?
Correct. Yeah. Press down 1 second.
Richard, can you hear me?
Can anybody hear her? No. Who would like to help her get on frequency? Anybody else? Yes. Hi. Good to see you.
This is Flicker checking in.
I got Flickr. Flickr, great to connect with you. And when we connect and we know the IDs, Flickr would say, hey, you. The whole point is, hey, you, it's me. So actually, I'm gonna talk to Flickr. What am I gonna do? So I'm gonna say, Flickr, this is Romeo Golf 07. That way I got her attention, right? Flickr, she knows her name. And then I'm gonna say who I am. And do you copy? Flickr, this is Romeo Golf 07. Do you copy?
I copy.
Cool, now come back at me with something else. Romeo Golf 07. This is,
Romeo Golf 07, this is Flickr, we need help.
Flickr, this is Romeo Golf 07. This is an exercise, not a real emergency, but if it were, we would be all about helping you. Thank you. Somebody else want to come at me? Did everybody get on frequency successfully?
Yes.
I've got Bravo Halo. And it is Romeo Golf 07 here. You're coming in loud and clear. Could somebody help this gentleman who's raising his hand get on frequency? We need some high-tech people. All right, is there any questions that you might have? Or do we want to go to Cameron?
So why don't we go ahead and go to our Q&A session then right now? I'm going to walk around the room with a mic, and our emergency manager is going to walk around the room with the mic. And if you want to ask a question, just please raise your hand and we'll hand the mic off to you. The reason we're doing the mic is not so that we can necessarily hear you, but for the people on Zoom, they can't hear when people are talking in the back. So we got to talk into the microphone.
Okay, Ron will bring you the mic, then you can start talking. Did you get on frequency? I did, sorry. Awesome. Thank you.
You emphasized that you shouldn't use FRS, but you can for $35 for a 10-year license with no test get a GMRS.
There's another set of frequencies allocated by the FCC for you to use. General Mobile Radio, GMRS. It's probably an even better option for you, but you do want to get licensed. Costs about $35, and you can just Google GMRS license FCC, and you go online, you sign up for your license. I believe it's $35.
For 10 years.
It's 10 years of worth of license. And that enables you to have even more wattage, which is really cool. I think it's 5 watts and up to 50 watts on certain of the GMRS channels. You can use 50 watts will get you way past Samuels from here. I mean, it's really cool. It'll also allow you to use one of the 2 or 3 GMRS repeaters. So yes, now you as a non-ham licensed person can use a repeater because they're privately owned and people are putting them up there for you to use when you get licensed. You'll get a call sign. You'll need to put that call sign out when you transmit. So you can get a GMRS radio, makes it a little easier if you don't want to learn all about the Baofeng, or you can use your Baofeng.
The other thing you should mention on the license is it's good for any member of the family that lives at your
Yes.
residence.
If you have a family and you want to only pay $35, it covers all of it. Their license. I'm questioning myself, and I'm gonna go to Lee here, who's one of my mentors. He's gone.
He's gone.
He went. He came and left. I bored him. I believe that you can use your Baofeng radio on GMRS if you're licensed. Does anybody have a Beats with that, yes.
As long as you use, the repeater, you have to be licensed. You can use it on. You can use it on GMRS if you're not licensed, as long as you don't go through a repeater. You can do it simplex.
I'm not sure that's correct.
Don?
Has to be licensed.
They are the same channels for FRS. You can do that, but it has to be at 2 watts or less. And for
Right.
any of the FRS channels, it's actually half a watt.
Yes, if you want to communicate on GMRS or FRS, half a watt, you don't have to be licensed. If you want to use 50 watts, which you can do with a really cool radio called the Anytone 5888. That's, well, that's 25 watts, but they make a version also, the 7888. Is 50 watts, which is really a cool amount of watts to have. Don't use that on MERS radio. MERS has a maximum of 2 watts. Excuse me, yes, 2 watts. FRS, half a watt. GMRS, up to 2 watts on some channels, but 50 watts on others. Thank you for mentioning that. Question?
Once you put that frequency 151,940 into your Baofeng radio, will it stay there?
Yes.
Okay, it won't,
Till you get EMP, or even if you run out of batteries, you will have those frequencies staying there because there's a, you never run all the way out of battery. I think there's a capacitor in there to keep the setting. Yes.
So you mentioned unless you get EMP, so is it a good idea to keep one of these in a EMP safe bag because these are able to be affected by an EMP?
Yes. Nobody really knows, even the experts argue themselves about what EMP can or can't do. So, you want to be safe? Wrap it up in aluminum foil, put it in a steel can, and wrapped up that up in aluminum foil and put that in a bigger steel can. And you'll probably be okay with your backup Baofeng radio. Question.
So hold on,
Stanley.
hold on a second. So we gotta have microphones going.
Okay, I know nothing at all about radios, so I have no idea what you mean by megahertz, frequency, watts, any of that. I don't understand the purpose behind why we can only have half a watt or 2 watts. Can you please define some of these terms for the person who's never even held a radio before?
Thank you. I told you I was going to be speaking to you tonight. If I had my full set of slides here, I'd be able to explain this to you more easily. What is a megahertz? It is a frequency. What is a frequency? It is a cycle. When my voice goes, there's a cycle. It's a frequency. It has a positive amplitude and a negative amplitude when seen on an oscilloscope, which can show me the specific characteristics of any frequency. So frequencies in the radio spectrum start really with long waves. I mean, they can be like hundreds of meters long. And that is a wave that travels invisibly through the air and space and water. And it's in the shortwave radios, which have long waves, they are attuned to those longer cycles. When we get to, so that's anywhere from 160 meters long wave to 10-meter long wave, which is right in the CB band. So 10 meters is like from there to here, right? But then we get down to 2-meter long waves. That is a frequency. That's the frequency that MERS transmits on. So this little antenna is capable of putting out a 2-meter long wave. And that's pretty cool. How does it do that? Well, there's a bunch of coils in here but a real 2-meter antenna, if you want to transmit well on that band, will be 2 meters long. I got one on my roof. It's called a copper J-pole, and I've got a cable running from my radio up to it. And I can cook with gas on that antenna because it is designed specifically for that frequency. Now, the next band, that's very high frequency, 2-meter long band. Then we get to 70 centimeter long band, which has, which is ultra high frequency. The waves are only that long. Wait, 70 centimeters. Yeah, something like that. In fact, I believe this antenna is that long. So it uses, it can transmit very efficiently on 70 centimeters. And by the way, the 70 centimeter band is best for long, unobstructed views and line of sight. The 2-meter band can do a little better in mountainous regions like ours.
What about watt? What do you mean by watt?
Right, so that's the actual signal characteristics, the frequency. Now, how much power am I going to put behind that frequency? Your local FM station has megawatts of power. It can fry you if you climb up there. And even these have enough powers to damage you over time, which is why, another reason you don't want to sit there and just be doing this all day, right next to your head, right? Get an external antenna if you can. So 1 watt is a little bit of power. Consider the desk lamp next to your bed. How many watts does it have? Well, 20, 30 years ago, probably had 60 or 100 watts. Now with LEDs, they're down to 13 watts. So this is, on MERS, we're only communicating on 1 watt. So that gives you a sense of the power difference in wattage. So there's a formula, those of you who passed your technical license like I did too many years ago, how do you derive watts from volts? And Lee, I'm talking to you. Oh, there it is. What's a watt?
One of the scientific method, you got a number of joules per second squared or something like that.
There you go. It's a unit of power. And if you got more volts and less resistance, you can get more watts.
But you have to be licensed to use so much power, right? Some certain power.
Use the microphone, sorry.
On certain, so you have to be licensed in order to use some watts, right?
Well,
Because they want you licensed to be able to have so much power.
Yeah, they want to control us for one thing. They also want to regulate the airwaves, so it's not complete chaos. So if you get a ham license, you can use a lot of watts, up to 100 watts on the 2-meter band. That's power. That's reach. I can talk to Spokane on that kind of power. But for everybody else who's not licensed, like most of us in the room, we're limited to ½ a watt on FRS, family radio service. Now, that's just like a little bit of power, right?
Yeah.
But I can get maybe a mile. And we're limited to 2 watts on MERS, multi-use radio service. And I can get 2 miles, 3 miles maybe 10 miles with a better antenna, a higher antenna.
That was perfect, thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And-
now I get it.
So there is a website for the EMP question and other nuclear protection. The guy's name is on his YouTube channel is Dr. EMP. And he's got his doctorate in physics, and he's also worked at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory and other government agencies. And he does RF testing on different shielding techniques. So it's a pretty good channel to check out if you're interested in Faraday cages or some of these bags that you can put stuff in. A lot of the bags are not that great, but some are. So EMP Doctor.
EMP Doctor, is the name of the YouTube channel. Thanks.
To the lady who I've just started learning, I don't know, maybe a month ago, but GMRS license, you just pay money. You don't, that's all you do. The hardest part is getting online and figuring it out. So when they say GMRS license, ham license, you got to take a test. So that's why, you know.
Yes, the ham license is a test. There's 400 questions, but they're only going to ask you 35. But you got to know most of those answers for that 35, and you don't know which questions they're going to ask you, so you got to learn all 400. And it's everybody's encouraged to do it. You can listen to YouTube like for 3 or 4 days, less than half a day, and learn how to do it and take the test and pass it, and that's cool. Now you got a ham license. The opportunities unfold before you. It's like Jesus coming. Your capabilities are.
I do have a question. So my question is, if I put my radio on channel 3 at 1 watt, but then I want to go to GMRS at a higher watt, can I do that just in my programming?
Yeah, you can change the wattage in one fell swoop.
So I have to change the watting. When I just go back to MERS to GMRS, when I go to MERS frequency to GMRS, I still would have to change the wattage. Okay.
No, the programming changes a number of things for you that we're gonna be helped by some people in this room tonight to program our radios. We have the channel number 1 through 127. We have the channel name, MERS, GMRS, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have the frequency of that channel. We have the wattage set for all of those channels and a whole bunch of other data that needs to be in there for some of these channels, specifically repeaters. So you don't have to worry about the power once you get programmed, with some exception. So that's why you need to know that for me to legally operate this radio on MERS 3, I need to make sure that little L is up there. I'm on low power, 1 watt. I can go up to 2 watts, but I can't dial on this radio. My choices are only 1 or 5. So we use 1 watt for low power on MERS.
One thing I noticed was you failed to mention the AB switch.
Appreciate that. I mentioned that there's 2 radios, actually 3, I've been corrected, on this radio. And the way to get back and forth between them is to hit the blue AB switch. What that does is put a little triangle on the top frequency or on the bottom frequency. It's going back between my 2 radios or VFOs. And that's great. I can go up and get the triangle on the top one. Then I can set that, say for MERS 3, then I hit AB again, the triangle moves down. Then I set that part for maybe MERS 4.
I just wanted to go back and comment on the ham test. It's not as hard as you think. There's 3 different levels and each one's a little harder, but you get to see the actual list of questions that they choose from. They're all multiple choice. So go ahead and if you want to go beyond half a watt or 2 watts or 50 watts on some of the GMRS channels. Most of the ham band you can go up to a kilowatt and a half. So yeah, it's not as hard as you think.
The answers. So if you could memorize, you could probably just say you could read all the questions, all the answers, and then take the test. where do you go? YouTube is a good place, but we have an incredible club in the county called the Bonner County Amateur Radio Club. They teach you, they provide the test, and they're great people, and they meet monthly also. So you can join them. You can go to Lee. K7JEP.org. Learn a lot right there on the internet. Local amateur radio club.
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
K7JEP. Let's say it together. K.
K7JEP.org.
All right.
Thank you so much for the Channel 3 project info. That's really cool. I have heard about these things called I think it's called a road channel on road channel, and I think on GMRS it's I think there's debate whether it's 19 or 20 with a CT. Yeah.
Channel, if you're on the road, you want to talk to other people.
Is that what that means? Okay.
19 is the CB.
Okay.
And that's gonna vary in your area.
19 is
What the
CB.
road
Channel
channel.
19 is the road channel on CB.
And that just means if you're traveling, that's what you use. Okay, thank you.
So
Okay, so if you're new to ham radio and you get your license and you want to connect with people, there is a national call channel. That frequency is again. There is a frequency.
I don't have it memorized.
And you'll learn that. The first thing you learn when you get your technician's license
So-
as a ham.
there's a free app on you can go on your phone. It's Ham Radio Exam Tech. It's a free app. You can go online and take practice test online on your phone as an app. It's Ham Radio Exam Tech
Ham
for technician license.
Radio Exam Tech is the name of the app that you can learn all the questions, all the answers. Can you take the test online too, Bob?
No.
No.
Gonna put a plug in? Richard?
Yes,
On the
please.
test?
Regarding the Bonner County Aries does sponsor the bi-monthly ham exam. We do it the first Saturday of the month, and usually January, March, et cetera, at the Sandpoint Library. And we test all classes, technician, general, and extra. It's free. So just for anyone who's interested in pursuing a license for ham frequencies, look us up, and just in addition to K7JEP.org, you can go to BonnerAries.org. And there's a link on there about licensing.
ARES stands for
Thank you.
Amateur Radio Emergency Service. So BonnerAries.org.
I just had a quick question about the Baofeng radios. Is there a way to configure them so you can disable the push to talk if you just want to receive information and you're listening, but you don't want to transmit and you're like, for me, I would be fearful of transmitting or may not want to. So can I configure them to just listen and not push?
The capability to transmit can be programmed for, to not transmit can be programmed for all the frequencies. I would recommend a different solution though, because when it comes time for an emergency, you're gonna wanna communicate with somebody. So I would work past your issue.
What if there's channels that I want to receive information from, but I know that because I'm not licensed, I don't want to talk. So I want to program it just to listen, and then I can go to those channels and make sure that, hey, it's probably going to be me. My daughter here she's more responsible than I am. So if I want to get information and I know I'm not supposed to be talking on a specific channel, I just want to know that I can configure it to turn it off.
We're gonna need you on the mic, sorry.
real world example of what.
Regarding to your question there, that, for example, there's lots of frequencies you may want to put in and scan. For example, you may want to have the fire department or whatever, and you can put all that in a receive only scan mode. In fact, 2 years ago, when we had like the Oregon Road fire, a bunch of us were sitting out at the county fair at the ham radio booth, and we were listening to all of the dispatch activity going on. And so that's the kind of thing you're talking about. In addition to maybe ham or whatever, you could also program in any of those other government channels as a receive only, and that's perfectly good. Just like use your radio as like a scanner.
I forgot to tell you that. Thanks, John, because your radio is a scanner too. It's not just a radio. You can scan all the frequencies that you have programmed, one from the other. It'll stop on one if it hears something, and then it'll keep going. Or it will scan all the frequencies in frequency mode, which could take a long, long time. So learn how to use scan. And by the way, Google on YouTube, Baofeng for Dummies, and any number of other more specific Baofeng. You gotta learn how to spell it. That's the hardest. It's Baofeng. Never heard of it. Okay. Next.
So you were offering that to people to go down to Winter Ridge to have them program your radio. Are you?
We're down there right now waiting for you. They're not me, they're not Ron, they're not the county.
Okay. Is that the information that they're going to put on the radios? Is that going to be shared?
It is a common set of values that will be programmed for you that is in common use by many of us, created by one of the people in this room. And it's kind of exciting to have a few geniuses who put such hard work into this stuff for us.
You can always contact me too.
Okay, I'll do it that way.
There could be a time when us who forgot.
Is there gonna be a time when us who forgot our radios could find these people to program our radios that way?
Don't have your radio with you tonight. But you want to get one now, you're all excited. And you want to get the program that others are getting. I'll let Ron answer that question.
I'm sorry, I was
Where
not paying attention. First for everything.
Where do people later on get this program that some lucky people here tonight are going to be able to get at Winter?
So anybody that doesn't get any information tonight or wants additional information, you can get a hold of me personally, and I can set you up with someone that can help you out. I think that'd be the easiest way for right now. We have a person that has a question on Zoom, so let's go to Randy Ponder.
Maybe on mute. You are on mute.
I asked them on. Yeah.
Unmute, Randy. There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I accidentally hit the wrong button to speak, but I'm good. We're just listening. Thank you.
Operator error.
Yep.
A good test for us.
I got a question back here.
I heard from the sheriff that they have a course for 3 hours where you could get a license to do the Baofeng radio.
The question is, she's heard from the sheriff that there's a course where you can get a license for, with 3 hours. The license that you will first want to get in the order of licenses is your $35 GMRS license. That'll give you a lot of capability. The next one is the ham license. We've talked about that already. There are no other licenses that are relevant for this purpose. Their question?
I believe, as a volunteer for the sheriff's office, what you're talking about is through the neighborhood watch program, that watch captains or their designated communications officer or person, it's about 3 hours. And then that then permits you to have your radio programmed with the frequency tone to be able to utilize the repeater that is currently up and then the future repeaters that he is going to be putting up.
That is on the GMRS frequency. So that will also require your GMRS license. But the 3-hour class is not a radio class per se. It's a neighborhood watch program class. Is that right?
It's you're required to take the class to be able to get that information. And it takes about 3 hours. They're basically going over the GMRS radio and the communications and then what the intent of the sheriff having the GMRS repeaters with the neighborhood watch, and they're looking at putting GMRS radios in the patrol units so that the officers can contact the captains or the communication person.
This is an awesome course, it sounds like to me. I'd like to take it myself. Where and when can we act?
I would contact either Cheryl Mercer at the sheriff's office, and she's probably going to cut my throat for that one. Brad Arndt is the facilitator of the program and the repeater system. But I'm not going to give information out on him, but he works as a volunteer through the sheriff's office also. Cheryl,
Who's going to cut his throat?
yeah, Cheryl Mercer.
I have a question or a comment over here.
Okay, well, I'll give a pitch for this class. I'm the guy that created something I'm going to talk about later, but what they're doing with this class is they're making sure that using their repeater that has specific limitations on being able to actually get the repeater to work. And since they're controlling the certain a tone and a frequency, to two different frequencies to use that repeater, they want to make sure you know how to use your radio. So that's why they have that class, and it behoove you to do that because you'd learn a lot of things about radios that you don't know right now. I'd be interested to know how many people would be interested in a ham radio class that went for six nights, maybe 2 hours a night. How many people in here would be interested in a ham radio class that would give you everything you need?
6 nights, 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just on ham radio.
Right. To prepare you for the test because the ham radio app that you could put on your phone could actually prepare you for that test. And probably if you spent 6 hours on it, you could probably pass the test. And my attitude is you learn what you need to do and then start using the radio because the questions they ask you, make sure that you don't do something dumb, stupid, or dangerous. And by memorizing the questions, you get enough information to make sure you could use your radio. But it'd be a lot better to teach a class. So if somebody's interested in that, we could look into that. It would be a free class, and I'm preparing for the test. It comes every other month. So I'm going to let you know if you're interested in getting your radio programmed. There's a reason that's not some of the products that I've created aren't presented here because my products are created for an emergency and a grid down situation, meaning you have your radio and you can use it beyond anybody's imagination. What wasn't mentioned in this class is that the ham radios, Baofeng ham radios, are actually 8 radios. You have 8 different bands that you can operate on because the Baofeng radio has been designed to operate well outside what the 2 meter and the 7 centimeter band was configured for. So once you program your radio, you'll be able to see a lot of other things. So on your way out tonight, if you're interested in seeing what can be programmed in your radio at Winter Ridge, I've created this map. It has all the repeaters on the front that will allow you to transmit. You can go to the Canadian border, talk on this repeater right here, and somebody can hear you down at the airport, down here in the airport at Spokane. I've tested it. I've tested all these repeaters. They all work, and they're all programmed immediately into your radio in less than 30 seconds. And these are all the frequencies, including frequency to talk to another radio without getting a repeater involved, repeaters that actually are grouped together so that they expand the use of a repeater, and then individual repeaters, and then GMRS repeaters. So that is a subset of public service frequencies, meaning sheriff and the Bonner and Boundary County emergency management frequencies, and some frequencies like FEMA, Marine Band. So all kinds of things outside the bands that these radios are configured to work on that you can listen to and get some information on it. So if you're interested in getting this program in your radio and a website where you can download all this stuff for free, I worked for the Air Force. I learned how to do this for pilots, and this has been programmed. It can't be sponsored by the county because it goes well outside the range of what you should be using your radio for. And so I encourage everybody to get your ham radio license. It's pretty easy. You just download an app, study it. And if you're interested, the county, I'm sure, can help you guys get a class. I taught a class at my church, and it only took 6 sessions at about an hour and a half apiece. And I prepared people to take the test. Any questions? Yeah.
My radio, I know at least one of these radios was programmed with channels that are from Kootenai County instead of Bonner County. And so if I were to go down to Winter Ridge tonight or some other time, maybe can you just replace? How do you get rid of the old ones and get the new ones in? Is that fairly easy?
Okay, there's 2 different things going on here. These repeaters on the front go from the Canadian border all the way down to St. Marie's, if I'm pronouncing that right. So all of the repeaters are available on this map. Kootenai County does not have all of the emergency frequencies that are posted for Bonner and Boundary County, and that's because they went to a different type of radio system. After 9/11, big cities were required to begin to use a different type of radio. It's not encrypted, but it's not using the same technology. It's a digital radio system. And so there is no way to monitor Kootenai County emergency frequencies unless you buy a very expensive radio. Okay, well.
Yes, we can swap out your.
Yeah, so to make it clear, you do want to have emergency frequencies because there's a lot of things you can hear on because they're just monitoring. It turns your radio into a scanner. Okay, so all these frequencies right here, you push one button and it'll scan 128 channels continuously. Yeah, okay, yeah.
We won't do, those guys who are helping you down at Winter Ridge, will not do is keep your existing frequencies in your Baofeng and add to them. We will wipe all of them out. So if you don't want that to happen, don't bring that particular radio to the Winter Ridge. Yes.
I just thought it was important to emphasize or to point out that if you do get a ham radio license, you still need to get a GMRS license to operate on GMRS. I'm a ham, you're a ham, you still have to get a GMRS license to operate on GMRS. You can't use, they're both not, you have to have one of each.
Yep, another $35.
Is it my understanding there is going to be a class on ham radio, or I didn't understand why the information came out? Is there actually going to be a class?
Regular classes in this county, and Lee just talked about one of them, didn't you, Lee?
Are we talking about classes or testing? Yeah, I was talking about testing. Dan was talking
About classes.
Idea that we kicked around for years, frankly. is
Give
having
that man a
class.
mic.
Yeah.
So we can get our Zoom on.
There we go.
As I was saying, I was talking about testing. That's every other month. Dan was talking about the discussion we've been having or folks have been having about offering a class.
I was asking to get a feel how many people would be interested in a class. If there's not enough interest, then there's no reason to have a class.
License. I see 12 hands, but I'm guessing Ron will be willing to send out the details on that class because there's enough people interested that Dan, Ron, you can give Ron the details on that and you can teach. Are you teaching the class?
I don't know. I just threw it out there because part of the class would be learn how to use the programming software. So you could, because I make these updates. Yeah, I make these updates all the time and then it would allow you to program your own frequencies in there. So the reason that you want to learn how to program is because it takes 30 seconds to program a radio and it takes about another 3 minutes to learn how to use the program. It's really a couple mouse clicks to download and install. Yeah.
On everybody's time. When might it be and where might it be?
I don't know. I wanted to find out if I taught a class at my church. Okay. And there was about 25 people in that class. Is that right? About 25 people. I can't remember total. So, and it lasted six nights. So, 6 different weeks. Yeah. So there are people that offer classes on a Saturday, literally, that you could get your radio. It's just hard to get through that kind of information. Yeah, a lot of classes available on YouTube anyway. Now that I know there's an interest, we'll talk about it amongst different people in the community here.
So if anyone's interested in that, you can either meet up with him in a few minutes. We're going to shut this down at 7:00 and we're going to give everybody about 30 minutes to mingle. Part of this is designed so that everybody in this room can meet each other and start networking with each other. Find out who your neighbors are here. You might be surprised. You might be sitting next to a neighbor, don't even know it. Feel free to reach out to this gentleman tonight, or I can also help facilitate. If you guys aren't able to hook up tonight, shoot me an email and I can set you up with the different instructors that are offering that.
We didn't pass around the sheet.
Yep. Sign up sheet is,
Sign up over here if you want this information.
yep. Sign up over here. Give us at least an email address. If you haven't signed up already, if you came in late, we have 2 Baofeng radios that we're going to do a drawing at 7:00 in about 7 minutes. So make sure you get signed up and we can get your name in the hat for that.
Chaos.
I'll wait till we're done with the Q&A at 7:00 and then we'll do the drawing.
Gotta go till 7, you guys. Next question.
No, not a question. Just, I thought this might be the appropriate time. You mentioned Amron in the beginning. I'm not? Oh, up there. Boy, you think somebody would know about radios, right? Talking across it. So pointing. You mentioned Amron in the beginning. I just thought now might be the right time. I am the Bonner County Amron net control guy that does the net on the first and third Thursdays every month. If you want to know more about Amron, come and see me afterwards.
Tell everybody when the net is and where it is. That slide.
Had it on the slide. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, down at the bottom. Very first one. Next, 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 next. Well, I guess, where'd you have it? There, right there. Down at the bottom, Idaho, Bonner County, 2 meter, 146.420 simplex. That's a ham. That's correct. That's why I wanted to mention Amron does have a net. It's a 2 meter. It's for the amateur radios that have a technician class or higher.
So I applied for my GMRS years ago and don't know where I put the information. I went onto their website and I don't see a place like to sign in. Is there some way you can find out how much time you have left on GMRS? Like out of your 10 years before you need to. Right. But like, I don't remember when I signed up exactly and I didn't see it. I'm just wondering if anybody knows, is there a place you can go? Okay. So there is. Google it.
It'll show those.
Okay.
And when it started and when it expired.
Okay.
If I'm Richard, sorry, FCC site It's called the Uniform License System, or ULS, fcc.gov. Look for that and you can look up your license by name or whatever you have.
Guys, make up some questions.
Do we have any other questions? We got 4 more minutes.
Ron, this question is for you. You mentioned that we can get a hold of you to get our radios programmed. Will you be giving out that information so we can reach out to you?
So I can, if you miss out on the programming tonight, if you miss out on the information tonight, you can get a hold of me and I will get you in touch with somebody that can program your radios.
Can we just get the chirp file sent to us?
Possibly.
Also, Don was being shy. Don was being shy up here. If you are in Laclede or further west in Bonner County on Thursday nights, hi Don. On Thursday nights at 6:30 p.m. on channel 3 FRS GMRS, there's a net that Don runs. And so we sit around and figure out how far we can get on Simplex. We do it every Thursday at 6:30 and Don's the facilitator of it. The West Bonner Radio Support Group.
So if you're near the Laclede area, or west of it, you can get on FRS radio, half a watt, you got one, or if you're licensed on GMRS, or no.
GMRS radio.
I can't really use this radio on FRS 3 because it can't dial down to half a watt.
The first GMRS, you know,
Louder?
I mean, it's the same frequency.
So if you have your GMRS license. Yeah. Then you can connect with the Laclede group, which meets on FRS, GMRS 3. And get your GMRS license, you can do that. Or if you want to connect, if you're in Sagal near Round Lake, anywhere near Round Lake, you can connect with us on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on MERS 3. How many people are in the Round Lake area? I would love to connect with you. So that's awesome.
Just a real quick for the ones that are new here, for the ones that are new to the radios and everything, would you be able to touch up real quick as to the importance of height and elevation to reach out versus, because in this area, it's sometimes.
I heard the first sentence. I didn't hear the last half of it. I don't know. Well, okay, I got that part. I didn't hear the rest of it. I don't know if it was important or not. All right.
I don't.
30 seconds.
When we talk at the. Well, the bad.
So I think the question was just to touch on the importance of how high you try and get as much elevation as you can. You were touching on the importance of the antenna being up and everything. And also, you know, if you have the opportunity to get up a little higher in elevation, that's going to help you also, I think was the question.
Antennas work by line of sight. They're perfect in that they can go a whole lot farther, say on the plains of Nebraska. Awesome. Or from a mountaintop down to you, wherever you are, down below. So in my area in Sagal, I have hills. Well, if I can get this antenna, even one like this, up 30 feet in the air with a cable between me and it, climb a tree, that's huge. It's huge. That's why we put our antennas on our roof instead of our basement. Very important.
Height is my.
Height is my. And then you want to make sure your antenna is actually working too. Sometimes antennas are not tuned properly to the radio. And there's higher tech ways of making that happen. But these are designed to work not out of the box, but with this extra antenna that you can get on Amazon for $10. Nagoya 771. Yes, sir.
Just for clarification, for those without licenses, the FRS and the GMRS channels, the first 7 of them, you can use your Baofeng radios at 1 watt, because if you are unlicensed, you can use the FRS higher power channels up to 2 watts without a license. So if you have your your Baofeng set at 1 watt, you can use that without a license on channel 3 of the FRS and GMRS channels.
One, FCC requires FRS communications to be on a radio without. being compatible
That's
with-
true. That is true.
Technicalities.
Yeah. We're trying to be by the book.
I just wanted to make another comment for those of us who are really confused here. I know what it's like to be confused about this stuff. When they say simplex, they mean no repeater. Simplex means just site to site, line of sight. You're welcome. Point to point.
And repeater is the duplex. This is just repeater. Okay, next question. Well, after 7, we made 8 minutes is up.
Not to ask too complicated a question, but what is a single sideband?
We're gonna go into single sidebands tonight. I didn't do my homework.
Okay, so we're at 7 o'clock and this is our cutoff time. So what we're going to do at this time, we're finishing up the names and we're going to draw a couple of names and give away these 2 new Baofeng radios. Could I have a round of applause for